Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Justin Soltados, and on this YouTube channel, what we do is we focus in on three different areas: physical, mental, and spiritual health, a full systematic approach to you becoming the best version of yourself. Today, I'm going to be talking about my Christian journey when it comes down to love and lust. That's right, love and lust. So if you can, stay put to the very end, because I'm going to share my experiences on these two different areas, and I believe it's going to make an impact in your life. When it comes down to physical health, I want to make sure you have a physically strong body. When it comes down to your mindset, I want to make sure that you have the right kind of thoughts going through here, because we know that thoughts control this, and if you have bad thoughts, this is not going to be in order. And then also, I want to make sure that spiritually you're in tune, you are connected. That's right, you're connected to our Creator, and you're just walking throughout this journey, and He is just directing your steps, and you are having success. That's right, because I believe when you do it God's way, good things happen. But when you do it your way, as you will see today, once again, I have to be the guinea pig on these different situations, because I believe that I can use my story to make an impact in others' lives. That's why I'm transparent and I share what has worked for me, what I've changed, what I've adjusted. So if you'd like to learn from somebody that's been there and done that, that would be your boy Jay. So subscribe today, hit that subscribe button and hit that bell button so you can receive post notifications when these videos are posted. So you know what? Let's get started. So part of my mission is to be transparent with you and show you how to have victory in your life, how I'm having victory in my life, and how you can overcome even when it comes to any struggle that you might be dealing with. And I know for a lot of you guys, if you're watching this video, you might possibly be struggling with lust. The truth of the matter is I definitely have had my struggles in this area. I'll give you a quick comparison. Love is kind of like coffee. Love is fulfilling, okay? When you do love the right way, it actually turns into a good thing. Not just a good thing, but a great thing. But meaning like it gets you up out of bed and you just want to tackle and conquer and just have an awesome, amazing time in this life. Love is extremely important. When we're lacking love, sometimes we turn to the wrong direction and we look for things that try to fulfill, like in the short term, like a temporary fix. That is what lust is, okay? Lust is temporary. It satisfies a little bit. It's fun. It's fun at first, but at the end, truly, you're only screwing yourself. Let me explain. I was shopping in Trader Joe's the other day and I was getting ready to check out. And as I was checking out, I saw something called cookie butter. Now, I've never had cookie butter in my entire life, and I got this big shopping cart full of like healthy stuff, and I'm like, you know what, man, I just need like a little treat for myself, something to make me feel like I'm living a little bit, right? So this cookie butter was like right there near the checkout counter. I was like, you know what, let me just give it a try. Didn't even look what was in it. Didn't care what was in it. I was like, it's a little jar. What can it hurt? And then not to mention, it's at Trader Joe's, so it must be healthy, right? So I get home and later that day, I was like, let me try some of that cookie butter. So I got out my spoon and decided to put it on some sourdough bread. And I put it on there and I took a bite. And as soon as I took a bite, I was like, oh my goodness, this tastes amazing. Holy cow, if this is healthy, this is going to be something I'm incorporating all the time. So I had some more of it, and it just tasted so good. It felt so good as I was eating it. But later on, what happened was I started feeling like crap. That's how lust is. At first, it feels good, but later on, you start feeling like, man, why did I do this? You start feeling bad and guilty and just down on yourself. I'm going to get into that in a little bit, but I want to give you a quick analogy. We got the coffee, the love, and then we got the cookie butter, which is definitely the lust. If you haven't tried this, by the way, you got to try it sometimes in life. You only live once. I'm not saying to do this often, but if you ever in Trader Joe's pick this up, you will definitely thank me, but please don't make it part of your regimen. Make it a one-time thing. We got to be careful with that though, because if you don't have self-control or self-discipline, what will happen is you will get into that lust over and over and over, and you don't want to flirt in that area, because just like lust, it can continue to be an ongoing thing, which could turn out to bad results. If you ate this every day, you'd have a big body, an unhealthy body. And nothing against cookie butter, nothing against this brand. I love it. It tastes amazing, but it's going to be from a time-to-time special treat situations. On my journey, I've experienced love and I've experienced lust. That's right. I've experienced it before I was a Christian, and then after I was a Christian. I think sometimes when we come to Christ, we feel as if like we're supposed to have it all together and we'll never sin again, we'll never experience lust again, we'll never think these thoughts again. But that's just not the case. And I'm going to show you biblically why that is not the truth here in a little bit. A lot of the problem starts inside the bed, okay? I'm actually in my bed right now, and there's a lot of things that go on inside this bed if I'm being completely transparent. Not just like sexual things, but what I mean is just different thoughts and different things come inside our head. That's why in the thumbnail of the video, I'm doing one of these because I'm trying to like control what's going on in here. And then not to mention I'm closing my eyes because the eyes are what get us in trouble according to the word. Nowadays, things are totally different when it comes to dating and marriage. We got dating apps. We got sexting. There's people that are married that live in separate locations, separate houses, separate rooms. There's speed dating. There's something I like to call resume checks. Like whenever you go out on a date with somebody, they want to check your resume. And if it doesn't exactly fit exactly how they think it should, it's like, you know what, on to the next. And that's not how I think God designed it to be. Went out on a date with this girl. We went to Target. And as I was sitting down there with her, she's asking these questions one after another, after another, after another, after another. And then we went out for a burger. She asked me questions one after another, after another, after another. And then after that, we went out for a walk, asking me questions one after another, after another, after another. And I just felt like I was getting interrogated. And by the end of it, it made me feel like, you know what, I want to get the heck out of here. I don't want to be around this person. And it was almost like she was just checking the boxes. And it's like she's doing this resume check. And I think that's what a lot of us are doing today. We feel like, you know what, if it doesn't look exactly how it's supposed to look, I'm going to check out. And that's, once again, I don't believe that's how God designed it. Speed dating at its finest. A lot of people are incorporating speed dating. A lot of people that are married are doing it their own way. They're doing long distance relationships. There's people, like if I'm being completely transparent, that are using a lot of toys in the bedroom. Porn is their best friend. Just a lot of things when it comes to love and lust that look a lot different than even when I was growing up. When I was growing up, we didn't have access to all these kind of things. They weren't even a thought. Maybe when you were growing up, you feel the same way. Or maybe right now, like this is kind of like you growing up and you're experiencing all these things. And I talk to Christians all the time. And the truth of the matter is I believe that people are falling short when they're lonely. And even when they're not lonely, they're falling short. They're falling short because their flesh is pulling them in a direction they shouldn't be going. They don't have the patience. It's like if it's not working out, just like the resume thing, the speed dating thing, it's like I need an answer now. I want to find a solution to my problem. I have this need. So what happens is they don't really start working towards the true love department. They start working on the lust department. And it happens almost like organically. I was talking to a girl the other night and she was telling me just about her experience and like what she was going through in life. And she's like, you know what, Justin, I just think like every Christian nowadays, you know, they're struggling with this behind the scenes. There are a lot of people that are struggling in this area. And that's why I want to be open and transparent with like my shortcomings and my struggles. So hopefully it can help you out. You hear it all the time. It's not good for man to be alone. That's what you learned on the Christian journey. That's what it says inside the word. And it's true. It's not good for you to be alone. A lot of people that are single and they're impatient, they're rushing into these relationships, and that is a big problem. There's a lot of singles out there right now that, I gotta be honest, we're being impatient. It's like, you know what, I need to find that person. And then what happens is you go from this person to that person, and you rebound, and then it becomes a vicious cycle. Then like you get out of this one, then you gotta find another one. And trust me, I've been there. There was a time in a stretch of my life where I went from one to one to one to one to one for many, many years, and it never led to fulfillment. It always led to lust because I was taking my broken self and putting myself into another situation, hoping and expecting for it to like solve my problem that I had within. And I wasn't being patient. So I was taking myself, putting myself in another problem, causing that person to be a problem, taking my baggage out on them. They had some of their baggage that were taken out on me. And then before you know it, ends up leading into a bad, unhealthy, toxic relationship. Have you ever been there before? Please let me know in the comments below that I'm not the only person, because I've heard this story from a lot of people, and I believe that I'm not the only one, that's for sure. When you get in these relationships, you start to like justify and create your own Bible. Like you start getting into a relationship that you know that's not as of God. You maybe start sleeping with that person. You're like, you know what, I can sleep with them because like I'm going to get married, but I'm not married yet. And then you start doing all these things that you should not be doing. And what happens is it brings you further and further and further away from God. That's why we always talk about physical, mental, and spiritual health on this Christian journey, because we have to get the spiritual in line. Because if we're always sinning constantly every day, there's no way you can be spiritually in check, because sin separates us from God. Now, is God still there? Is he still present? Of course he is, but it's not causing us to get closer to him. It's causing us to be further apart from him. Justify it, and we're in a rush to get married, and then before you know it, we're in a rush to get divorced. And if we're not going to get divorced, we end up being roommates that hate each other. I actually know couples that live in separate rooms, and it's just not healthy. Like, you know what, we're not going to get divorced because, you know what, at least we're staying together for the kids. I'm sure you've heard that before. If you're in a relationship where you're staying together for the kids, it's kind of a good thing in a sense, because I guess you're just not getting that divorce. But the same token, like, you shouldn't be in a relationship that feels like that, because God designed us to be together. And if you're creating all these boundaries and walls up because you got into something that you probably shouldn't have been in, and now you have kids because of it, because of these bad decisions, and now you have your kids that are seeing you in a situation to where it's not healthy. It's completely broken. It's beyond broken. And then they're getting the wrong thoughts and ideas and views of how marriage should look. And then they start tampering with different things that they shouldn't be getting into. And then they get into lust. You see what I'm saying? It's one of these trickle domino effects, and it turns into a complete disaster in the end. And I've been a part of that disaster, like I've told you guys. There are a few tips that I've learned on my journey. Number one is sin is real. That's right. Sin is real. And even though we don't want to sin, we will end up sinning. I don't care who you are. You could be the most self-righteous Christian out there and claim that you never sin ever. That's just not the case. I've talked to a lot of people, and I truly believe that everybody's in agreement, if they're being completely honest, completely transparent, that they fall short in area. Doesn't mean this area. It could be any area. But sin is real. And like Apostle Paul said, my dad used to drill this in my head all the time. I do the things that I don't want to do, Justin, but I end up doing them. I hate doing these things, but I continue to end up doing them. Sin inside me, Justin, and it just continues to keep on pushing me to do things that I really don't want to do. And I was like, Dad, that's an excuse. You keep on saying that. You have to overcome it. You got to have self-control. Apostle Paul was trying to say, hey, listen, my flesh is weak. I want to do the right things. I'm trying to do the best I possibly can, but sometimes I fall short. So what I don't want you to do is, if you fall short when it comes to lust or sexual sin, is to put yourself in a rut mentally, because that's what the enemy wants you to do. He wants you to live with guilt and condemnation, and he wants you to feel like you're not good enough and you're not worthy enough and you're never going to have true love. And this is just who you are. You know, you messed up with porn, and therefore this is how you're always going to be. So remember, sin is real. Understand the tricks of sin. And then number two is, I want you to understand that you need to be the best you can possibly be on this journey. That's right. Don't try to be somebody else. The best you can possibly be. Because if you're trying to be perfect, it's not going to happen. And if you're trying to live by the definition of love inside the word, what love is, you will end up falling short in one area or the other. The only person that can love perfectly like that is our Creator, Jesus Christ. That's a fact. And in time, can you become more love? I believe you can be more like love when you're connected with Him, because He continues on the journey to mold you, guide you, direct you, with these steps that you take, and you end up being more like what love is. I heard a great message on it. I believe it was by Pastor, I can't even remember the name of the guy, but the point is he had a really good analogy and breakdown of like how love is and how we end up being love in time on this journey as we stay connected with God. And even when we're not connected with Him, and we have our days where we're not the best we possibly can be, He's still working. So like sin can draw us away from Him, but also when we're away from Him, He's still going to allow some things to happen that could hurt, but it's only going to be to lead us back to Him. And there's been times on my journey where I'm like, man, I don't understand, God, why do you do this? but it's not him doing it. It's more of my broken decisions that have led me into a broken position, to a broken situation, but it leads me to being broken to where like I desire and need him more. That's why God is God. We don't understand his ways, but he will get us there because he is faithful even when we're not faithful. On this journey, don't expect yourself to be perfect. I used to put so much pressure on myself. I've had so many conversations with even pastors, accountability partners, counselors. Man, I just blew it again. I screwed up by this, by that. And they would point me back to scripture. They would like gently restore me and say, Justin, like, are you trying to be Jesus? Are you trying to be God? Because it's just not possible. All inside the word, it talks about like go and sin no more. You have to take the word as a complete whole and understand why did God use all the major screw ups to make the major difference, the major impact? It's because there's certain guys like even myself that fall short, but God knows my heart. And I believe that he desires to use broken situations for his goodness. So if you're in a perfect love situation right now and you're walking the walk and you're talking the talk and everything's great, that's awesome. Continue to stay connected to God, because the only way that can happen is when you're connected to God in that three-stranded cord. But if you're like others that are single and you're struggling, or maybe you're in a marriage that's broken, in time, God's going to get you to where you need to be. And remember to control the controllables and don't try to change the uncontrollables. You can't change the things you can't change. So put your focus in on him. When you fall short, he's going to eventually get you there. You can take the short way or the long way, which brings me to the next point. Patience pays. Point number 3 is patience pays. That's right. I've been through one marriage when I was super young, wasn't ready for it whatsoever, didn't know what the heck marriage was, didn't know what I was getting into, but I had to rush to get into it so I could have sex. And then number 2, I got into a second marriage and I had to rush to get into it. I wasn't ready whatsoever. I was actually out like living in the world. And then I got married to a godly woman. It went really, really, really bad. Not even sure why she liked me at that time, because she knew where I was and where I was walking, and it led to hurt, it led to pain, it led to frustration. I was throwing out hurt and hurt was coming back. I was throwing out hurt and it was coming back. Hurt people, hurt people. I went through this long separation. I went to 30 months of counseling. I was trying to do the right things, but I was still falling short. But it wasn't because God wasn't faithful. It's because I made a lot of poor decisions that put me in a position to where I was away from my wife. I used to connect with her physically, then I wasn't able to do that. And then what happened is the unthinkable. I started thinking the most unhealthy, impure thoughts, mainly about her. But I started like looking at her like an object, and it went south. I don't really want to get into the details because that's kind of like what happened between her and me. But what I'm saying is the sin that creeped in started really corrupting. And that's an area even to date that God is still working on me with. So it's like when I am focused in on the wrong things, I start to lust. But when I focus in on the right things, I'm able to love. So don't get married just to have sex. The word Justin talks about, it's better to get married than to burn in passion. Yeah, but if you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to get a divorce. Most likely, like I would say like a 95% chance, or you're going to be stuck in a situation that you wish that you weren't into. So it's better to practice self-control. So if you're like, man, I'm burning passion, I just got to have sex. No. What you need to do is you start working on having more self-control. One of the best things I recommend and something I practice is fasting, because fasting helps you to deny your flesh. So instead of you rushing to get married so you can rush to get a divorce, there was an old joke in Tennessee when I lived there. They said, man, they're in a rush to get married and then they're in a rush to get divorced. And it was just like a little funny joke. Find some things that can keep you distracted, because it's better to be with the right one than to be with the wrong one. And God's way is the best way, because if you do it your way, you will get your results. And lastly, remember, you will overcome. God made you to be an overcomer. That's one of the promises. You need to hold on to that. Don't feel like, man, I'm just never going to be able to do this. Man, I've been stuck watching porn for 20 years. I've been stuck, womanizing. I've been stuck, with lust. I don't even know what love is. I'm here to tell you, you will overcome. It may take a lot longer than you want it to take, but that's all based off what you're focusing in on. If you're focusing in on him, you'll be able to overcome a lot quicker, but he's going to get you there. But like I said, take the short way instead of the long way. God made you to be more than a conqueror. He made you to be an overcomer. He made you to be strong and courageous. So when you feel like you can't do it and your flesh is weak, like mine's been even lately, you have to tell yourself, hey, listen, man, I got this. And when you fall short, you jump back on track. The key is to not stay stuck in sin, but to continue to keep on overcoming and persevering, and understand that you got to give yourself grace from time to time, not from time to time, all the time, because if you don't, you will be on the dark side for a lot longer than you want to be, and you'll start having this war within, and then your heart will start going in the wrong direction, and out of the heart is the wellspring of life. Then your life's gonna suck. So quick recap, remember, sin is real. You have to understand its tricks and schemes and this and that, and you can learn more about that by being inside the Word. Number two is be the best you possibly can be, and then understand what love is and how God is going to get you there, and that he is that definition of love. And in time, you're going to start becoming more like him. Like, I'll look at the definition of love now and I'm like, man, wasn't this. But now that I've been walking with him for a long time, I'm starting to notice, man, I am that. Not that yet. I'm getting better at this. So in time, he's going to get you there. And then you got to be careful with all these radical, self-righteous people that feel like, you're supposed to be like a walking Jesus Christ. There's only one Jesus Christ. And then also number three is you got to remember that patience pays. You don't want to put yourself in a bad situation where impatient and you rush to get into it. Now you're trying to rush to get out of it. So there's benefits to being patient. Love is patient. It's the very first word in the definition according to 1 Corinthians 13:4. Love is patient. So be patient because it pays. And when you do it God's way, you get God's results. And when you do it your way, you get your results. So lastly, you want to hold on to, you are an overcomer. When you feel like you can't do it, when you feel like you're inadequate, when you feel like you're weak, when you feel like you're not enough, you are an overcomer. Maybe not in the situation today. Maybe you screw up tomorrow. Maybe you screw up after you watch this video. I remember going to a purity seminar when I was younger, and they were talking about purity and this and that. And then that day I lost my virginity. So my point is that is how the enemy wants to win. He wants to weasel his way in, make you feel like you're not good enough, and make you feel stuck. And then you start becoming further and further and further away from God because sin separates us. But the greatest thing about God is he will bring you back closer to him, even with your shortcomings, and I'm living proof. I'm not saying I'm the biggest screw up ever, but I can tell you this, I made a lot of poor decisions, and thankfully by the grace of God and his mercy, I'm able to share what happened on my journey so it can help you, with your walk with him. Being a Christian is not easy. Everybody that claims it is, and once you come to God, everything's perfect and peaches and cream, we obviously know that's a bunch of BS, and that's just not the truth. It's challenges every day, but let's remember, we want to be more like the coffee, the love, fulfilling. The coffee, you may have a little crash, but you know what? You'll come up again. You may have like your shortcomings, but you're going to get back on track. And then also with the cookie butter, you don't want to stay stuck there. If you're eating cookie butter nonstop and you're having that lust, before you know it, it just kind of takes over. And I've been there before to where I was so far away from the word love. Thing is it made me feel guilty. It made me feel horrible. It made me feel physically horrible, mentally horrible, spiritually horrible. So take it from me. And once again, pray for your boy Jay. Still have my moments. I'm single. There's a lot of women out there, even on these dating applications, and you got to be careful because the eyes take you in the wrong direction. So if you're single, I want to encourage you, stay connected to this YouTube channel. You're going to hear from somebody that's real, that keeps it 100, that's going to be transparent with his good things and his bad things, his wins, and then things that he's learning, because we don't lose in this channel. We either win or we learn, and it's going to help you out physically, mentally, and spiritually. If you're strong physically and you're weak mentally, you're just weak all over the place. So we're really becoming physically, mentally, and spiritually strong, and it's a journey. Just like you spend 2 hours in the gym, you need to invest at least 30 minutes 2 or 3 times a week. I believe with putting good stuff inside your heart. You want to fill your heart with life in, life out. So anyways, if you like this video, or you can relate to this video, or maybe you can't relate to this video, please give it a big thumbs up or thumbs down, and comment in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts on this video, like what you think. what you don't think. And then if you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing today. We're always becoming the best we possibly can in each and every area. And then lastly, hit the bell button so you can receive up-to-date notifications when these videos are posted. Thanks so much for viewing, and I'll see you for another video here real soon.